If you've ever walked the Appalachian Trail at night, you know there's something wrong with the air up there. Something that watches, listens, and waits. Tonight's story is one of the most disturbing encounters ever reported from those mountains. A hiker who vanished without a trace, but left behind an audio log that should have never been heard. What you're about to experience is taken directly from that final recording. If you scare easily, this is your warning to click away now, because what happened deep in those woods will stay with you long after this video ends. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because we explore real American horror stories that most channels are too afraid to touch. Now, take a deep breath, dim the lights, because this is the night no one should have survived, and maybe no one truly did. The hiker's name was never released publicly, but locals knew him as the Wanderer, a man who loved exploring abandoned paths. On November 12th, he entered a part of the trail that even park rangers avoid after dark. An unmarked route known only as the Hollow Line. In his recording, his voice is calm at first, describing the trees standing unnaturally still, as if frozen mid-movement. He mentions how the forest felt too quiet, like the wildlife had already fled from something. Then he notes scratch marks on several trees, not from bears, not from knives, but long, deep gouges that spiraled upward, far beyond human reach. Something tall did this, he whispers. He tries to laugh it off, but the recording picked as he continued deeper. The trail disappeared behind him, as if the forest rearranged itself. He writes about turning around and seeing only darkness, no entry, no path, nothing familiar. Still, he pressed forward, hoping the route would loop back. That's when he heard it for the first time. A slow, dragging scrape across the forest floor. His flashlight caught only fog and trees, but the sound grew closer, heavier, like claws raking through leaves. He called out, expecting maybe another hiker or an animal. But the reply wasn't human. It was a low, drawn-out imitation of his own voice, repeating the word, hello. That was the moment he realized he wasn't alone. And whatever was out there wasn't trying to communicate. It was trying to mimic him, to lure him, to study him. The more he listened, the more distorted the echo became. Fear finally pushed him into a run. His breathing grows louder in the recording as branches whip against his jacket. He keeps saying, "It's behind me. It's behind me. It's behind me." The dragging sound becomes faster, sharper, almost metallic. At one point, he stops and whispers that something massive just crossed the trail ahead of him, tall enough that its silhouette consumed the entire width of his flashlight beam. He describes its limbs as too long, too jointed, bending at angles no creature should bend. And then, chillingly, he hears it speak again, this time using his mother's voice, recalling his childhood nickname. He breaks down crying. The audio shakes violently, like he's holding the recorder against his chest. "It knows me," he keeps saying. "It shouldn't know my..." Eventually, he stumbled into an abandoned ranger cabin. Dust covered everything, and claw marks shredded the walls. He barred the door with a broken table and whispered into the recorder that the creature was circling the cabin, scraping its claws across the wooden exterior. Every few minutes, it paused to speak, always with a new voice. A woman crying, a child laughing, a man whispering prayers. It shifted through them like masks. He said the temperature dropped so fast he could see his breath pouring out like smoke. Then he noticed something worse. The cabin had no footprints leading to it. Not his, not the creature's, nothing. Almost like it wasn't part of this world. He pressed himself into a corner, saying he'd wait for sunrise. But as the hours dragged on, he realized time wasn't moving normally anymore. The night midway through the recording, something knocks on the cabin door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Not aggressive, but patient, intelligent. He holds his breath. Then a voice on the other side whispers, "I found you." But the words echo like they come from multiple throats, speaking at once. The hiker starts praying, begging it to leave. The creature responds by laughing. A wet, broken sound that crackles through the cabin walls. Suddenly, the knocking becomes pounding, shaking dust from the ceiling. The boards creak, nails groaning as if pulled by something immense. Then the audio catches a long, dragging sound across the roof. He whispers, "It's above me," voice trembling. The creature moves slowly, savoring his fear. Every few moments, it repeats his prayers back to him, word for word, perfectly. Desperate, he decides to make a run for it. The recording turns chaotic, doors bursting open, branches snapping, heavy breathing. He keeps repeating that the forest looks different, wrong, like the trees have shifted positions. There is a loud, echoing howl behind him. Nothing like an animal, more like a person screaming underwater. He sees lights in the distance and runs toward them, thinking it's a campsite. But when he reaches the clearing, the lights vanish instantly, like they were never there. He screams in frustration. Then, something moves in the corner of the recording. Slow, almost graceful. He describes glowing eyes floating in the darkness, far too high off the ground to belong to anything natural. "It's her eyes," he whispers, though he never explains who her is. The creature steps close. He runs again, deeper into the mountains. The recorder captures his foot slipping, stones scattering, and then silence. He whispers that he's hiding inside a hollow tree. The opening is small enough that the creature can't enter, but it can crouch outside. And it does. For nearly 20 straight minutes, the audio picks up scratching, sniffing, and a low humming sound. At one point, The creature mimics him breathing, syncing perfectly with each inhale and exhale. Then it whispers, "You're tired. Come out." He holds his breath until his lungs burn. The creature responds by dragging its nails across the tree trunk, slowly peeling away the bark. It whispers again, "I can wait." Then, horrifyingly, it repeats the exact sound of him crying. Same pitch, same tremble. He realizes it has copied him completely. Not just his voice, his fear. In the final part of the recording, he makes one last attempt to escape. Dawn is approaching, or at least he thinks it is, because the sky is turning a strange, pale gray. He runs toward what looks like an exit from the forest, a thin line of open space through the trees. But when he reaches it, he stops abruptly and whispers, "It's a wall." The clearing isn't a clearing at all. It's a solid barrier of trees woven together like ribs. Something moves behind him, and he turns the recorder toward it. Heavy, wet footsteps, crackling bones, a distorted version of his own voice saying, "You belong here now." He screams, and the audio suddenly cuts into static. For a moment, there's nothing, until a final whisper comes through. "He stayed." Those were the last words ever recorded on that device. When rescuers found the hiker's gear weeks later, the cabin was gone. The hollow tree was gone. Even the sections of the trail he described didn't match any map. But his recorder was found lying on a rock, untouched, dry, and impossible to explain, given the storms that hit that month. Authorities dismissed the case as a disappearance due to exposure. But locals say the mountains claimed him. They say the creature that mimics voices is still out there, waiting for hikers who wander too far off trail. Some even claim they've heard whispers in the forest at night. Voices that sound exactly like their own. If you ever visit the Appalachian Trail, never follow an unmarked path. And if you hear your own voice calling from the trees, run. Because once it learns your name, it never forgets.